Ohayou gozaimasu. I'm Crazed.
I'm Richie.
And welcome to...
We
be
Simpin.
Special episode.
Yeah.
Just you and me.
Yeah.
No Migi. Because we're doing a movie review for Scarlet, which is the new Mamoru Hosoda from Studio Chizu. This is his brand new film. We went to go see it in the theater.
Just yesterday.
Just yesterday for us. Yeah, it was during Valentine's
Day.
Which was really, really nice to go to the theater with you and see this film. Before we get into our score and everything, because you and I are going to be scoring this, I wanted to, kind of get an idea on our general thoughts on the movie. Mm-hmm. This is the newest movie in Studio Chizu's lineup. Mamoru Hosoda, who is an award-winning director. Some of the biggest anime movies he's made recently was Wolf Children, which we've watched, Belle. Well, actually, no, we also watched The Girl Who Left Through Time.
Yeah.
So this is his new film, and what did you think, Witchley, of Scarlet? As an overall thought before we get into the film.
I enjoyed it, and it did get a little emotion from me by the end.
Yeah, you cried.
I was surprised.
He does a good job pulling at those strings, I really loved Belle. I love Belle so much. I think it's one of my favorite top 3 anime films of all time, and he really does a good job just trying to get an emotional message across in some of his films. So yeah. I'm glad it hit for you. For me, I really like this film. I was all gung-ho on this ever since we watched Belle, and all his other previous work, of course. But so whatever he was doing for this one, which is a Hamlet-inspired take.
Yeah. And
I really like him doing these interpretations of these classic stories such as with Belle, Beauty and the Beast. And now he did Hamlet, which is his own take on it. And I think he did a great job telling this Shakespearean story in his own way. I have a couple gripes with this film, which we will get into, and I know you have a couple gripes, but I really liked it. I don't think it's his best film.
I agree with that.
It has a lot going for it, but unfortunately it doesn't quite reach the same mark that he did with some of his other films that we've watched, in my opinion.
And things that thing that you're mentioning with the pacing issue can also be considered unnecessary in this.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know if it's unnecessary, because I was thinking about it and I was like, I think it's okay being there. I just think it was drawn out too much. Or they could have had a different approach to it.
Yeah.
But let's start with the setup in our Simp score. We'll start with the setup and then we'll rank it from there.
Right.
So setup, set between the 1600s. We have our main protagonist, Scarlet, a medieval-era sword-fighting princess on a dangerous quest to avenge the death of her father. Yes?
I think based on some of the outfits we see, we could easily say it was probably 16th century, late 16th century, meaning the late 1500s, early 1600s, because they had those specific fluffy short things.
It's the basic story of Hamlet, but, gender bent with Scarlet instead. And what did we think of that setup? Her getting transported to the other world.
Yeah, I think overall the idea of it is a very stereotypical one these days, because it's always gender bent now.
Mm-hmm.
But it is cool to see, and the setting of it all in this other world thing. That's an interesting take on it too. We have the revenge tale, which is as old as time at this point. It's one of the 7 or 8 stories that keeps getting reused. But I did like the gender bent form of it. I really like Scarlet as a character. We set up with really quickly of she's already there in the other world, and then we kind of get a flashback of how did she get there? Obviously, you get to see her life growing up, from her loving her dad. Her mom, not so much. Didn't really like her. She's the mom that betrays the king, and then
just like in Hamlet, the mom just goes off with the other one.
Claudius, is you got to have a little bit of like political drama like that, I guess, and then that's what sets up the whole like execution, and he does this thing where he's talking to Scarlet, but you can't hear what he's saying, of course, and we'll get into that later in the story, but he gets executed by 4 men, and then from there she just kind of grows up in this montage where she's learning to fight, learning to wield a sword, and then obviously just biding her time until she can find an opportunity to try to kill Claudius, the new king, her uncle at this point. Obviously that backfires, she gets poisoned. Then we're back where we started. I mean, what would you rate this out of 1 out of 5,
I would say, oh man.
I think the setup is good enough to have like a 3 maybe, and that's my
okay setup.
Yeah, it's like an okay.
I feel like they could have elaborated more on the setup. I wish we would have seen maybe a little bit more.
Like with her past?
With her past, like setting up this whole revenge arc. We know why and whatnot. We've seen a lot of it, but this is some interesting stuff if you ask me about the movie, which they really breezed past in the movie. I would have loved to. We see she has a good relationship with her father. I would have maybe liked to see more of a reason why they decided to make him like the villain, set him up.
Claudius?
Not Claudius, to falsely accuse her father. I would have liked to see maybe some stumbling there that they could easily use against him or something.
Mm-hmm.
Because it felt petty, I want the throne, I'm just going to throw out a wild accusation. I would have liked to see him maybe being a little more conniving with that and getting her father executed, rather than it just suddenly happening. It felt rushed.
Yeah, there's like one scene where he's having a conversation with the king, Claudius is, and it's like they're butting heads, and that's like all we get really. And then obviously behind the scenes is like him being like, I deserve the throne, and
right.
I'm like, I guess if you know Hamlet at this point, which I mean, I've only read it once, you've only read it once.
Yeah, I mostly know it thanks to the Reduced Shakespeare Company, if you've ever seen that.
I have not.
I thought I showed it 2 years ago. It is hilarious.
Maybe you haven't. I'm trying to recall.
They go through all of Shakespeare in a reduced capacity, but Hamlet is the biggest one, and they do it to like a good 3 or 4.
Oh, yes, that's right. Okay, yeah, that's coming back to me. Okay, yeah. So I don't have a lot of like stake into the Shakespeare stuff. I haven't read all of this stuff other than I think Othello and Hamlet. So I'm like, I get the gist. I get the idea. I think they were trying to really speed things along, which again, we'll get into, but the pacing issue is the issue that I have the most trouble with this film.
Yeah.
Is that they kind of gloss over things really quickly.
They give us information very quickly.
And then you're supposed to be along for that ride.
And I think they make it so you have to assume a lot of things.
Yeah.
Or they just expect you to understand. Where I felt like they could have elaborated a little bit better on that.
So you're thinking maybe a 2?
No, a 2 would mean I thought it was bad, according to our star system rating.
Okay.
I would maybe do a 3.
I'm thinking 3.
Or, yeah. Not quite good, but it's okay.
Yeah, let's do a 3 on that one. I mean, it's a good plot, and we're going to get into the intrigue next, which kind of delves into the otherworld stuff, which I found very interesting. I really liked the setup of what this other world was, but again, I had a little bit of complaints with how they set up or explain things with the other world. So the other world, which we start off with, is her being in this world after death, and it's limbo. Let's just call it limbo at this point.
It's easier to just call it limbo.
And it's a space there's like this old wise woman at the beginning talking to Scarlet, being like, hey, you are in the other world, limbo, aka limbo, and this is a space where the past and the future can coexist. Now, I really like that as a concept. Visually, looks really stunning, though it is just a desert, mostly.
Yeah.
Which is cool to see, but there was like other land, like as we progress through the story, obviously we'll see like mountains and castles and whatnot, but it was mostly just a vast desert is what I took away from this limbo area. And obviously the sky was the most beautiful part. I mean, you have the sky being like this waves of ocean, or like ocean waves, or just the vast ocean. You can see it up there. You'll see it. It looks really stunning. And then you have like this giant dragon in the sky that like judges people.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool to see over time. Like throughout the entire film, you would see the dragon come when kind of things like when people were acting mischievous in some way in limbo, like kind of like to set the world in order, because you have them coexisting, but obviously there's war still happening in this other world. And I love that the dragon would show up and just basically smite people. And you see that by the very end with like Claudius, which we'll get to later, but like when they're just doing bad things, like when we see the caravan, they go into like these raiders are attacking the caravan, and then that's when the dragon shows up, or when someone was about to get shot, which we'll get into later. So it's like just like judging people based on the actions that they do in the other world, which I think was really cool. The one thing I really needed more context on is that like there was moments like, so like Scarlet was dead, and then Claudius dies shortly after. Is there some kind of time frame on this thing? You know, like is there a time, like is time non-existent? So it's like everyone's living in this other world after death. Doesn't matter if you're dead or not. Like there was other moments when her mom never showed up or her dad didn't show up. So I'm like,
yeah, I found that like weird. Except I think didn't he like insinuate that he like came and killed her father again?
God, I did, I missed that.
It was like a brief thing he said, and that confused me a bit. Like, why didn't we get to see that?
Because when you die in the other world, they
turn into nothing.
Yeah, you like this really cool like just leaves like kind of Thanos snap
like,
ash
you get
thing.
Gomaged a bit.
Yeah, you do get gomaged, for clear obscure terms. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting to see, but they don't really explain why other people aren't there. And then obviously we're gonna get the Hijiri, which is the second main character of the story, who's a paramedic from modern day Japan.
Yeah.
And he is the only one that is from the future, or at least that I can interpret as in this story, because they're the main characters of the story, Hijiri and Scarlet, when they're in the other world. But they never establish, like, once we start seeing more characters throughout the show, or throughout the entire story, you just see kind of like everyone kind of wearing the same getup, and like it's like
feels very historical sort of thing.
Yeah, it feels like everyone from Denmark is all there.
Yeah.
Like that died during a war, and it's like everyone knows who Scarlet is too. Which I was like, I thought it would have been really cool, and we see that with the caravan, which is really cool. Is like to see all these different ethnicities and different races, and just all living together, surviving together in the other world. I thought that was the best part. It would have been kind of cool to see maybe a language barrier between the two. Like, if Hijiri met Scarlet, obviously Scarlet's not going to have Japanese language on her unless the other world just translates that.
Right? It's like, what is it, like the great sort of like equalizer in a way, and then sort of like, like in Hitchhiker's Guide, where you stick that weird rubber duck in your ear, and then you're able to hear
if they could like
languages.
Yeah, if they could just do something like that as a MacGuffin, or even explain just in 2 sentences, being like, yeah, when you're in the other world, everyone just has the same language.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can get by that. But
the language of the dead. I don't know.
I mean, I thought it would have been cool if they did do a language barrier, but I'm like, I guess that pacing would be even worse.
Well, with how they've structured things, they had plenty of time to explain that kind of shit if they wanted to.
We'll get into that. So. What did you think about the intrigue? You know, like, obviously I have my gripes.
Yeah, I thought it was intriguing. I feel like if they did, like, include more, like,
explanations.
people and whatnot, it would have been easier for me to wrap my mind around this, like, why do we have this one modern dude and everybody else is like from centuries before?
I know.
It would have been nice to see a wider variety of that. He can't be the only modern person dead, right?
I'm like, what requires you to be there, though, is like the weird thing, because it's like he's the only modern person there, and I'm like, well, does no one else get to go here then?
Right?
Why is it just him?
So it's weird. It didn't do a good job explaining itself, but I did think the intrigue of it all was pretty good.
Yeah, and I was on board for it, but I think it falls flat for not giving us enough context, and I don't know if that's on purpose or
maybe they wanted it to remain more of a mystery.
I feel like they explained a lot, though, where I'm like, I feel like they were hand-holding us, but not giving us enough, you know? So I think I would rate that a 3 still.
So just okay.
I think it's just okay.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
I think another 3 on this thing. If they gave us more explanation, if they explained why we're only dealing with like Denmark people, and like it was just very a coincidence mostly, where it's like, oh, everyone knew who Scarlet was down there.
All right.
And I was like, when you have this many people going to limbo, you think there would be some kind of divide between like, oh, I don't know who you are. You're some long lost princess that died, ages ago. I don't know who that is. I mean, Hijiri's the only one that we see who's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Like we both have 2 different worlds that we lived in, and 2 different experiences and 2 different lives. I mean, like those are the only 2 people that we could relate to, or more, because they're the main characters, which we can get into now.
Yes.
So the main characters, we have Scarlet and Hijiri, and I really liked their chemistry. I was thinking about it all last night too, and I kind of wrote down some stuff about the main characters. Like, I loved their interactions, their vastly different personalities. They quickly become the story's biggest feature of the film, of course. Scarlet is a warrior who's hell-bent on the revenge and won't hesitate to kill anyone who poses a threat, while Hijiri, and his natural instinct is to help people because he's a paramedic. And I love throughout the film, Hijiri also makes questionable decisions, like over time. He starts saving Scarlet by actually picking up a weapon and saving her. Even when he has to make tough decisions, he never forgets why he became a paramedic in the first place. And then you kind of see this chemistry between the 2 of them as they learn from each other despite their polar opposite personalities. Different motives in their life experiences. And at some point, I wouldn't say she starts to forget her mission, but, she starts to find, a different life she could have led, which we'll get into now, I guess, because, I guess we didn't talk about it. We hinted at it early on, but, there's this huge plot sequence that just stops the tracks of everything else that's happening with this dance number.
Yeah, that dance number took a long time, it felt like, to get through.
I like the message. I like what they were trying to do. It just didn't feel right for the tone of this film.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of her coming to terms with the fact that, my entire life's purpose right now is to avenge my dad. Is to defeat Claudius. And she runs into Hijiri, and she realizes there could have been a different path for me, a different road I could have taken. And I love that, but I don't think we needed this entire dance sequence where we just jump. She gets transported to another world, like his world, and you just see them dancing together. And I'm like, this feels like La La Land-esque.
It's starts off with just a bunch of people dancing, and then you, after a minute, you see him dancing. This is probably just me stretching out time ridiculously. You see him dancing, and then after another minute, she finally joins in the dance, and then they dance for a while. And I'm like, man, I would have preferred something more okay, so would have preferred them maybe just, like, maybe he was, like, singing a song. She has her little, except maybe not quite as drawn out, her teary-eyed moment before the whole dance sequence, because that felt like it dragged on forever, too.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved for that song to maybe morph into, like, a little conversation of how different their worlds were. And, you know, seeing that, as, like, they could have, like, talked about those things and then, like, thought about a shorter dance version if they so desired, and into what the world could have been like.
I agree. I think they could have went that route. I mean,
I felt like that would have been more impactful.
I think so too, because like this whole thing is just stopped by her getting literally transported, and
yeah,
it's like,
meanwhile she's just like breathing heavy the whole time, like teary-eyed at his instrument playing and singing.
Yeah. Oh, and apparently she blacks out in that scene, and he's holding her. Yeah, I just found it so weird as like that's what knocks it down for me a lot.
Yeah.
But I know we're not talking about that. We're talking about the main characters.
I feel like they could have had a lot more communication between them, for one thing, which would have made a certain thing that happens at the end make a little more sense. Because
oh yeah, the kiss
at the end. I was like, they didn't seem to have that kind of relationship, and then suddenly she kisses him.
Yeah, and that's like, I'm going to Belle back, and I was having this thought last night that I kind of just floated with you, where I'm like, I really liked what they did with Belle when it wasn't about romance.
Yeah.
It was about helping one another, even through the internet.
Yeah.
And I found that so powerful. It wasn't romantic at all. It was just somebody needing help in a dark place in their life. And it wasn't in any way a romantic thing. And I really appreciate it for that. And I think this movie, yeah, Hamlet can, Shakespeare can have romance.
Yeah, but
I just don't think
didn't have that kind of romance.
Yeah.
It was more of a tragedy kind of romance. But if they wanted that sweet, if they wanted that sweet kind of romance, like they were trying to show us at the end, then they should have built up a different chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, I like their chemistry. And I agree with you. It wasn't romantic. It didn't feel romantic. It felt like two people with two different, like, worlds that they lived in, two different, like, mindsets. One person wanting to kill, to avenge, and one person wanting to help somebody, anybody. Save people. Save as many people as possible. And I like that. I just don't think it's romantic at all. I don't think it's like, oh, this is like, oh, we're having feelings for one another. I like their chemistry because it's her being so walled off against anybody right now. It's like the whole world's against her. Yeah. And you see that even in her flashbacks up to Claudius killing her father, and her just doing it all by herself, learning how to fight, and then biding her time to try to kill him, and by drugging him and putting him to sleep, only for her to get poisoned by him. So she did it all by herself. But yeah, you have a Hijiri who is just so outgoing and wanting to help anybody, and he wants to help Scarlet in that way, and I don't think it's a romantic sense at all. So
yeah, no. So it felt very out of place at the end.
Yeah, I mean, they threw in the dance sequence, which is both of them dancing together, which I was
even
like,
that didn't feel like a romantic.
No, it didn't. So I kind of knock that down, but like their chemistry wise, they're the main characters. I mean, we obviously have Claudius, who's the bad guy. We have her father, who's barely in the film other than in the flashbacks. But
he was.
You have that whole
the best person in there.
He is, because you have that entire sequence where you see that scene where he's about to be executed, and he's trying to say something to Scarlet. She can't hear it, obviously, because of the mob and everything going on, and she finds out later that it's forgive.
Yeah.
And I like the message at the end where she's like, oh, forgive myself.
Yeah. Not forgive her uncle or anything. She just needs to learn to forgive herself.
Yeah, and she tries to forgive the uncle, and goddamn, by the end, he's still not redeemable, because I thought by the end he would have repented, and even though he was lying, by the very end,
You know,
he really wanted to get into like that heaven or whatever. But he should have been smart enough to know that you can't lie your way into heaven. So I felt like that knocked him down a peg for me. It's like, because you see him groveling at the doors. It's like, what? Did he think that would do anything? And then instantly he turns around and literally spits in her face.
Yeah, it was gross.
Like, I would never, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, dude, why were you groveling at the door if you didn't want to at least try to save yourself?
And you see that with Scarlet at the end too, where she's like, she's so sympathetic at that point, like trying to forgive him.
Yeah.
And is at that moment where I'm like, God damn this piece of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes for a good villain, you know?
It does, but I feel like that was a weird thing to make him do. Not the spitting in her face thing, but the groveling. He could have been trying to pound those doors open. That would have been much more to his character, I think. Like trying to break in rather than fake groveling.
So what do we want to rate this then?
First, I want to say, did you notice that Scarlet looks a lot like Belle?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, like with the pink hair and stuff.
Hair, they look almost exactly the same, except, Belle's obviously has the more decorated face. But yeah, they
should probably mention we also watched this dubbed, which I thought they did a good job with the dub.
Oh, yeah, the dub did great.
We watched Erin Yvette play Scarlet, and she's a great actress. I think that she did a great job playing Scarlet in this one. You know, being this, trying to act tough, but at other times being very vulnerable when she gets there. You know, when her walls are taken down because of Hijiri and whatnot, and the other people around her. So great work. But yeah, she does look a lot like Belle, especially with the long hair. But she does cut her hair.
She does cut her hair,
which I think is a really nice change.
Yeah.
Throughout halfway through the movie, she cuts her hair, and I think really more distinct from the Belle look. So.
Yeah. So when it comes to the characters, what would you rate them?
Man, see, I really like. I mean, we didn't really get into the supporting characters because you also had the caravan people, which were really nice, but they didn't really have a name for any of those people unless I missed it. You had some of the other executioners that were like there on the pedestal where her dad died, but they didn't do anything. Or like they didn't attack him.
Didn't actually. So if you noticed, I thought this was an interesting part in the film, is with the 4 executioners, and you see her father laying there dead before them all. So they had them positioned at the back and the front. The 2 in the back didn't strike, or else his head probably would have been clean up. The blood was only coming from the front of his neck, meaning the front 2 guys were the only ones who actually killed him.
Yeah, that was a good detail, because later on we find that out, of course, and we find those 2 people in the back are kind of the supporting characters. I forget their names.
Because they heard what he said, and then they realized that they were in the wrong.
Yeah, but they still stuck with Claudius' side.
At that point, you gotta, if you want to stay alive.
Exactly. I mean, even though they were all dead at that point, you know. Again, I'm so curious, like, how did they all die? Happened? You know, like, was it because of war? Like, did they go to war and they just died in battle? I don't know. I'm just, like, so interested by that, because I'm like, you're seeing all these people that are just dead. And I'm like, well, Claudius is definitely dead at this point, so something happened after Scarlet dying, so... But back to the characters. Yeah. Okay.
What would you rate them?
I'm kind of thinking 4 or 3.
Oh, right.
What do you think?
I would maybe go more good with this. It's not amazing.
We can always do 3.5.
Alright, so you want to do 3?
I'm just saying, like, if you're thinking 3, I'm thinking 4.
I was saying good is 4 stars, 3 is okay.
Then I would say 4. I think they did a good enough job.
That's what I'm saying too.
Like there's a lot of characters, but the main focus I'm really thinking of is Claudius, Hijiri, and Scarlet.
Yeah.
And then somewhat of the executioners a little bit, but I think a 4 is good to portray all these characters. I think they did a great job, and especially by the end with Scarlet, where she learns through Hijiri that she wants to live.
Yeah.
Like, I really love that scene. Like, her...
See, I felt like this whole scene between her and Hijiri, like, when he's, like, telling her to say she wants to live and whatnot, it made sense to his character, because of his paramedic stuff. And he says that he wants to help people live and whatnot, and that he feels a lot of paramedics sort of grow numb to people dying, but he doesn't want to lose that. So I felt like that was a total like him move at the end.
It was a him move, and I think that's what makes it a 4 for me. So, all right, I guess we're on to payoff, which is the end of this film, you know, and the culmination of that. I mean, we have her confronting Claudius, learning to forgive not him but herself, and I think that's a really strong message that she learns throughout the film. And obviously Hijiri is dying by this point, and
I will say, like, I never through the whole movie got the impression that she was like upset with herself throughout the whole thing. So I did find it a little weird to like the message was to forgive yourself when she was clearly just solely focused on this one person is the sole cause of my unhappiness. It's like she wasn't struggling with her own personal thing, it seemed like to me.
Yeah.
Where in a situation like that, you would be like, oh man, if only I could have done this or something like that. Then the whole forgive yourself thing, I feel like would have been even more impactful.
She is doing it for her father, but like, it's also for herself in some way or another, you know, like.
Yeah, but we don't see her personal self-struggle. We see her like, hey, this is the object of my suffering. It's not me or whatever. She never puts any blame on herself throughout the entire movie.
Yeah, again, like, I mean, we're in the payoff section, but like, this movie is not really leaving a lasting impression on me with the messaging by the end.
Yeah,
like Belle did for me.
Yeah, that one was done beautifully.
It was so good that every time I watch that film, I cry because it's so impactful. I'm just thinking about it now, and I'm already tearing up. But this movie doesn't leave that, and I think that's the downside to this movie. Like, the pacing is a huge issue of this movie. You know, getting here, I have some thoughts. Let me see. His previous film, Hosoda, it leaves a lasting impression on its audience. Expectations are high for Scarlet, of course, you know, this film being his latest one, but unfortunately I don't think it reaches the same mark as his more successful and memorable films. That's not to say Scarlet isn't worth seeing at all, as it still has plenty of emotion. I mean, we get that at the very end with her realizing she's not dead. She's still alive. And we thought Hijiri would still be alive because they actually show him like on life support at that point because he gets stabbed, which we never even got to, like how he died. He got stabbed by some crazy civilian on the side of the street.
Like he was maybe gonna go after children.
Yeah, because children passed by.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of defending. I don't know anyone behind him at that point. I don't know. Maybe it was the children.
Because that was like the focus.
Yeah.
But there were so many people around. And they didn't clarify it very well.
I would assume children, like you said. So, and that's how he died. And her realizing that she's still alive is a strong message, of course, and learning to move on from this quest that she's been on for a long time in her life, you know, after her dad died when she was so young.
Yeah.
And she learned that from Hijiri. And of course, I think it was very emotional where she tells him like, hey, you know, I'm going to try to make the world a better place so you can live and not be dead. Maybe I can change the, you know, and maybe I can change the future, you know, like.
So you could grow and be old.
Yeah, and have kids and get married. Not in that order. That's weird. But you know what I mean.
It is a common order, unfortunately.
And again, I really like that scene of her being like, I'm going to change the world so you could live later in your life. And the kiss does throw that out for me. I was like, okay, we don't need that kiss.
Yeah.
I think it would have been great to just accept that as is and not be like, well, let me just kiss you because I actually do love you. And I'm like, oh, okay, no,
I don't think we had enough time, like you said, with that. So that kind of knocks it for me.
We
but
had
like,
plenty of time to build it if they just cut out a bunch of those silent moments.
or the dancing sequence.
Or the dancing sequence. They could have built it up differently. That's what I'm saying.
But it's very emotional at the end, where she's alive. She took some antidote. She wakes up in her bed. She finds Claudia's dead. She moves on from that. She's now the queen of Denmark. And she's talking to her people about, like, let's not fight anymore. Let's
create a peaceful...
Let's create a world where kids don't have to die so young. That was an emotional scene too, when she's in the other world, where she's talking to the little girl who's like, "Are you a princess?" And she's like, I wish for kids to not die.
I wish for a world where kids didn't have to die.
Yeah, and it was and you could see she starts welling up. Scarlet does, and holds her.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that really got me too. So,
yeah.
So it does have emotional effects.
It does have an emotional effect.
It just doesn't reach the same mark as his most successful and memorable films, like we said, you know. The ending is an emotional tearjerker that you and I teared up on, and it's a great example.
Yeah, I did get misty-eyed. I had to wipe like a tear or two, but like not very much.
I think it's, you know, it's an example of a powerful storytelling in true anime fashion, you know. I really like seeing in English. I thought it was really great. I'm sure it's the same with sub, you know.
Yeah.
I just think it falls short of being one of his best films.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I think it's still a must see, you know, with more than enough to keep the audience engaged. We were definitely engaged, thanks to its unique take on Hamlet. The stunning visuals, like, oh, can we get into we didn't talk about this, but I really loved the mix of 2D and 3D animation to bring the story to life. The film is primarily in 2D, you know, when they do most of the flashback scenes, but when they're doing the action scenes, mostly that is 3D, which is plentiful, of course. So we got that. The character designs all look excellent, even close up. You know, like, there were so many great shots that I saw that I know that was in 3D. And he's always done that. He did that with Belle, which I really liked the blend between, like, when they're in the internet. Yeah. That's more 3D as opposed to when they're in the real world. That's 2D. And I think they did a good job blending it. And I think this is probably the best that 3D's ever looked with 2D. I think they did a really good job with this film with that front. So, but what do we rate this payoff, you know?
Yeah, what are your personal thoughts on the payoff?
I think it's a worthwhile anime full of emotion, tragedy, and powerful storytelling, which should be experienced in one way or another. What do I rate it? I think I'm going to have to give it another 3.
I was thinking the same thing.
Because it's not going to leave a lasting impression on me. Like, am I going to think about this film with all his other work? I don't think I would have that in the same high caliber run, you know? Like, I think when I think of his work, I'm still going to be thinking of Belle. I'm still going to be thinking of The Girl Who Leaped Through Time and Wolf Children. I think those are all emotional stories that I still think of to this day as very good films. And Scarlet it's almost there. It's almost there.
Yeah, they definitely could have done
so that's a 3 for me, and you're thinking 3 as well.
3, yeah.
So where are we at on the score now?
3.25
out of 5.
Out of 5.
3.25 out of 5. Okay.
Yes.
Which is okay. You know, it's an okay film, and we did enjoy it from what we're knocking on it right now. But, you know, there is some gripes that we obviously had with the film, and that's where we're leaving it right now. You know, and I'm still excited to see what he does next. You know, like, I love, like I said at the beginning, I really like him doing these interpretations / reimaginings of these stories. Like, I loved what he did with Belle, with Beauty and the Beast. I like the idea of attempting to do a Hamlet, and I think he's almost there.
Yeah,
he could have
polished it up a bit better.
There were some great moments that left me so engaged, from the Otherworld / Limbo, the
the dragon in the sky judgment, I thought that was really cool to see. I mean, like, visually it's stunning, and was what kept me engaged mostly.
Yeah.
Story-wise and pacing issues needed to be fixed. So that is our review on Scarlet. Let us know down below if you guys got to watch it in theaters, or if you guys are watching this later and it's probably already out on, demand or Blu-ray. Let us know what you guys thought of Scarlet. These are our thoughts, obviously. We had some great points on it and some not so great points on it, so...
Overall, it was an okay movie.
Okay. And that's a podcast, so as we always say...
Ja, mate!